Hey BNI Tampa, Spencer Reynolds, Executive Director, and I wanted to give you a status update on where we are as in returning to in-person meetings. If you've been following the governor's plan, there are 3 phases. Phase 1 was really about a maximum of 10 people in 6 feet distancing, 50% for public spaces and things that were allowed to open at the time. Phase 2 is a maximum of less than 50 people, and that's still 6-foot distancing and up to 75% capacity. And then large events and theme parks can start to open at 50% capacity. Phase 3 is really returning to normal with limited social distancing protocols. So we don't know when we're going to get to that point, and when are we going to get back to meetings? We don't know that either. So as soon as we get past phase 3, we also have a few hurdles to look at on a global organization. We have BNI, and we're going to look at which countries can return and then which regions will be able to return based on states inside of those. So we will keep you updated as we go through that. One thing we do want to think about is hurricane season is upon us, and that's going to be more of a thing to think about right now than anything. And being in this state is actually a pretty good idea just in case something does happen and we do have hurricanes that move in. We'll be in a better spot right now because of that ability to meet remotely as we are right now. So here's something I really want you to think about is as it comes down to a BNI meeting, what would it actually look like if we were to get back faster than slower? If we were to get back faster in weeks' times, then we would actually have all the PPT stuff. So, you got your face masks and gloves and you got to sit distancing from people. Just imagine how uninspiring and uninviting that environment is to be able to invite visitors in and have a meeting where you can't see facial expressions and everything else. To me, that just doesn't seem like a great opportunity where currently we have video and we're able to see each other and we're able to interact and we're able to do a lot of the things that we can do in an in-person meeting. So we don't know when we're going to go back, but we do know that we don't want to go back in that kind of setting. We want to go back when we can actually interact with people and not have all this stuff involved. So we don't know when that's going to be. We will keep you informed. We will continue to put videos out and talk about where we're at. But I do want us to think about something that we can control. And what we can control is making an awesome online meeting. Whether that's for a few months. I mean, what if this had lasted for a year? Now, that's the last thing any of us want. But what we need to know is if this is going to last for months, we need to get really good at doing an online meeting, which means visitor orientations have got to be phenomenal. The follow-up on them has to be incredible so that we can get those applications to turn them into members and make our chapters continually growing. Because right now, that's one of our biggest issues. We haven't seen a massive decline of visitors. We've actually seen a good amount of visitors come into our chapters. What we haven't seen is the ability to turn those into applicants that can then make that process becoming a member. So we want to get really, really good at that process. When will we get back? We don't know. Will we be back in time to do an in-person conference on August 31st for our leadership conference? We don't know. I have bets that it's probably not going to happen to get 1,000 of us locals into a venue and make that happen. It's going to be very difficult to happen. So regardless, we have plans going forward on how we're going to do leadership conference in a virtual environment as well as a live environment. Whether or not we'll be able to do that, we'll see and what the governor announces for time frames and opening up. We're looking at the Tampa Convention Center, which as we have our date already set there, that's a city thing, right? Like that's a government-owned facility that may or may not be available to us at that time based on the current regulations and what we have to do. So realize that we want to have the greatest experience possible for members, for visitors, and the online is working. It works right now. So why mess with it until we actually have the ability to come back and do it full force? So realize that we know some of your venues may be opening and there may be opportunities where you're like, hey, they want to know whether we're going to be back. All we can say is we don't know. We don't have an ability to do things. What we do know is this. We cannot meet until we get an approval from a global organization. So do not plan to meet because there's liability that will be involved, and that will become your personal liability if you do something outside of what we are told and what we need to do in our own region to make that happen. So please feel free to have your things that are allowed by law, like your one-to-ones. If you want to get together and you feel comfortable with that, great. If you don't feel comfortable with that, do them on Zoom. If you are comfortable in getting together with a power team that is a small group of people and you can do that with distancing and it still works inside the laws and the current of regulations, feel free. But as far as getting back to an in-person chapter meeting or doing BNI events or socials, we cannot do that until we are given approval and we know what is going to be done from a standpoint of our government in our city, as well as our nation, and then as well as the global organization. So know that we are watching it. We are on top of it. We will watch and we will keep you updated through the entire process. Thank you so much. Look forward to seeing you at one of your online meetings.